to the Thought Snob Podcast. I'm Paula Swope. Let's get snobby. Today's episode is about people who think it's okay to attack others on social media. If you rip people apart, attack their character, and freely express your opinions as if you're entitled to judge complete strangers, you are the problem, not the person you're attacking. Now, here's what motivated me to talk about this on today's episode. I've been playing the social media game since 2021. I've seen it all, and I've learned to ignore the ridiculous comments, but every now and then something happens that creates a teaching moment, and when it does, I'm going to take it. So, here's what happened. My stepdaughter turned 16 at the end of June and got her driver's license a few days later. Now, last year, I decided to give her my car. So she officially took it over once she got her driver's license. And we threw her a sweet 16 party, took some cute pictures and videos of her friends, with the car, and put a big red bow on the hood and gave her that whole experience. And then I put some of the pictures and the videos on social media. So when those pictures hit Instagram, it only took a few minutes for the hateful comments to roll in. Now, apparently, according to strangers on the internet, I'm a terrible parent because I gave a 16-year-old a Mercedes. They said I was raising a spoiled brat. They said I had destroyed her work ethic even before she had a chance to develop a work ethic. And they said I was teaching her to expect everything in life to be handed to her. One person said the pictures made them sick. Two people even announced they weren't buying my book anymore because of a birthday gift I gave my own stepdaughter. Now let's talk about reality. What these people saw was a Mercedes emblem, and from that one symbol, they made a whole bunch of ignorant assumptions, conclusions, and judgments. That car is 8 years old. It's in immaculate condition because I take excellent care of my vehicles, but it's still an older car, and I wanted her to have it because a Mercedes is built like a tank. It's a safe car. Now, I doubt I would have gotten the same reaction if she'd been standing in front of a used Honda Civic, even though, depending on the make and model, the Mercedes is probably worth about the same amount of money. The emblem on the front doesn't magically make it irresponsible or lavish. And here are a few more facts these idiots are unaware of. Claire is my stepdaughter. I don't refer to her as my daughter because she has a biological mother, but I like to call her my inherited daughter. I think that just sounds nicer than stepdaughter, stepmom. There's such a negative connotation associated with those titles. But Claire might be the most grounded and responsible teenager that I've ever known. I mean, she's nothing like I was at 16. I couldn't have been trusted to walk to the mailbox and back and tell you the truth about how I got there or what I did. Claire works at an ice cream shop because she wanted to. She babysits, she pet sits, she's a straight A student, and she's one of the least materialistic kids I have ever met. And she didn't demand a Mercedes. She didn't expect a Mercedes. I chose to give her that car because I knew it was safe and because it's the car she has spent the past year learning to drive. Anyone who thinks it's acceptable to lash out at me or my family over a single picture is a fucking moron, and I say that unapologetically. As for the people who announced they weren't buying my book anymore, I can assure you I lost no sleep over that. My book was written for people who are coachable. I hate for them to waste their money. And the fact that they think I'm the problem is honestly comical. Not one of those people knows Claire. Not one of them knows our family. Not one of them knows the conversations we've had with her about gratitude, responsibility, money, work ethic, or privilege. They judged our entire family from one photograph. And that's what this episode is really about. This has nothing to do with a used Mercedes or any kind of a car. It's about projection and outright jealousy. Those people don't care about Claire. They don't care about her upbringing. Come on. They saw a Mercedes and attached their own story to it. They're pissed off because they don't have the lifestyle they associate with that emblem. They projected that story onto my family. Psychology teaches us that people don't react to events, they react to the meaning they assign to those events. Now, every one of us sees the world through the filter of our own experiences. That's why perception becomes reality, and it's hard to argue with that. You know, maybe someone grew up without enough money, or maybe someone had parents who gave them everything, or maybe someone resents people who have more than they do, or maybe someone believes struggle is the only path to building character. Whatever their story is, they projected it onto mine. They looked at one picture and filled in every blank with assumptions. That's what human beings do. It's that meaning-making algorithm I've talked about before. But actually, let me rephrase that. That's what unaware and ignorant human beings do. And here's where it crosses the line. There's a massive difference between having an opinion and believing your opinion gives you permission to attack another person's character. We've become a culture that mistakes criticism for wisdom. Some people genuinely believe they're doing the world a service by publicly condemning strangers, and they're not. They're revealing themselves. That's what they're doing. And one of the greatest indicators of emotional maturity is recognizing how little information you actually have before forming conclusions. Emotionally mature people ask questions. Emotionally immature people write verdicts without any evidence. And here's something else I've learned after years of coaching people and being a highly visible person on social media. People who spend their time criticizing strangers are rarely building lives they are proud of. People who are fulfilled don't usually wake up looking for someone else's joy to tear apart. I mean, think about your own life. When you're genuinely happy, when you're making progress, when you're excited about your future, how much time do you spend writing nasty comments to complete strangers? Probably none, because your attention is on creating your own life, not policing someone else's. What also struck me was how quickly people confuse possessions with values. Like, owning something nice doesn't automatically make someone spoiled. Driving an older luxury vehicle doesn't erase work ethic. Having money doesn't make you a bad person or a good person. In fact, having money has made me a better person because it has given me the freedom to own my time. I feel better, which means I have more capacity to help people and be a highly productive member of society. Now, on the other hand, not having money doesn't make you virtuous. Character has never been measured by what's parked in your driveway. It's measured by how you treat people. Ironically, the people calling Claire spoiled were behaving in one of the most entitled ways imaginable. They felt completely justified insulting a 16-year-old girl they had never even met. Now think about that. Who really has the character problem here? I can tell you it isn't me. One of the most dangerous things you can do is convince yourself you know someone's entire life from a single social media post. You don't. You're seeing one frame from a 2-hour movie. And here's the lesson I hope you take away from this. The next time you find yourself making assumptions about someone's marriage, their children, money, their success, their appearance, I want you to pause. Ask yourself one question. What information am I missing? Because the answer is almost always most of it. 99% of it probably. Now, as for me, I'll keep celebrating the people that I love, and I'll keep refusing to apologize for the blessings I've worked hard to create, and I'll continue teaching exactly what I believe. You cannot build a peaceful life if you're constantly sitting in judgment of everyone else. Your life gets better the moment you spend less time evaluating other people and more time becoming the person you were created to be. Now, there's something else I want to say because I think it's important. There's a mindset I've intentionally tried to create in Claire. I never wanted her to worry about money because worrying about money deters money. My parents talked about their financial problems all the time when I was growing up. And as a little girl, I worried about money constantly, and it created a poverty mindset that stayed with me until I finally brainwashed myself out of it, and that took about 35 years. I've worked very hard to keep that from happening to Claire. Even when my husband and I were broke, I tried not to let Claire know. I've always wanted her to develop an abundance mindset because I believe it will take her far in life. She won't settle for what she doesn't want. That's a mistake a lot of young girls and grown women make. They settle because they were taught they had to. Now, to me, Mercedes represents something much bigger than a car. It represents not settling. Claire also understands that none of this comes without responsibility. There are strings attached, and she knows that. If she weren't grounded, responsible, respectful, and hardworking, I never would have given her that car. I wouldn't have given it a second thought. This is one big pilot run with her. And she also knows we aren't going to provide her with a car forever. We've had those conversations. But after driving a Mercedes for a while, I want her to want to keep driving one. I'm using Mercedes as a metaphor here. I don't want her settling for second best in any area of her life. The car was a reward for years of, consistently showing excellent behavior and performance. And I intentionally set the bar high because that's where I want her expectations to stay. After you've experienced something nice, you usually don't want to go backwards, and I want that to motivate her. I don't want her settling for a mediocre life, and I'm not apologizing to anyone for that. Young girls are incredibly impressionable. What they believe about themselves as teenagers can shape the rest of their lives. If they're taught that money is always scarce, or if they grow up constantly worrying about money, those beliefs can create unnecessary struggles well into their adulthood. And I don't want that for Claire. God did not put us here to pinch pennies and spend our lives doing without. Being broke sucks, and I don't want Claire to be broke. I don't want her to feel like she has to be broke. And in order for her to know what it feels like to live without constantly worrying about money, I have to expose her to a different reality now so she can learn to create and sustain that kind of life for herself. That's what an abundance mindset is. So there's a much bigger picture here than the one people saw on Instagram. And that's the whole point of this episode. There's always a bigger picture, and social media trolls almost never see it. So that's all I have for you today. I appreciate you tuning in again, and I will see you next week.
The Thought Snob Podcast with Paula Swope has been brought to you by Thought Snob Media in association with Special Purpose Studios. All production, mixing, and sound engineering by me, Will Swope. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars and leave a review. See you on the next Thought Snob Podcast with Paula Swope.